At all costs, I typically say, let's try not to touch the 401k. There's lots of other ways that you can attain funds. The problem is that it's like all these people say, hey, you need to get a home equity line of credit. Well, a lot of those have been shut down.
Right.
So,
You're not going to get that.
well, big banks aren't offering them anymore. Many of them are closing the accounts. If you had one and you thought, hey, it's a rainy day, or, I know people who are using those. It's just, guess what? I'm getting calls from people saying, hey, where do I go? I can't. Mine was just closed.
Right.
And this is the time when you really want to use stuff like that. Ideally, first place you'd want to be able to go is, I would think you start looking at liquidating assets. If you're living above your means, obviously paychecks have decreased or you don't have one anymore. Now would be an opportunity to go in and say, okay, let's trim some of the excess here. Let's start looking at our household budget. Even at my house, like we get the Wall Street Journal. My wife's like, what I do is I cancel, then they give you a deal. Okay. Well, evidently she's been getting the mail. I said, Danny, do you know how much you spent this last quarter on the Wall Street Journal? No, tell me about it. Whoa.
They have an online version that she won't see.
No, and that's great. And it's much cheaper, by the way.
But by the way, that strategy works for most things. I'd like to cancel. Oh, let me make you a deal.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. No, it does. And so I think that's one thing that you can do. And I like the old school paper, Lance, because if you, unfortunately, online, like Wall Street Journal, you only see so much.
Right.
Whereas if you go through the paper, you can actually see which articles you really want to read.
And plus, it doubles as toilet paper when you run out at the store.
That's right. My kids use it for arts and crafts. I mean, we got all kinds of uses out of it. So it's multi-purpose.
Great paper mache.
That is very true.
In 2008, I think the low point was minus 4% GDP.
Right.
2008, 2009. 2000, it was even slightly less than that. So that means the economy was running on 96% of its cylinders that it was running on prior to the recession, right? Mm-hmm. So if you go to a baseball game, if you go to a restaurant, if you go to a movie theater, 96% of the seats were taken versus 100%, right? So the Astros would normally sell 30,000 seats to a game. Maybe they sold 29,000, 28,000, right?
Yep.
So now we're saying, okay, well, the Astros are going to play, and normally they would sell 30,000 seats, but maybe they're only going to sell 20,000. That sounds like great news today, right? Well, that's great. 20,000 people are going to go. They're going to eat hot dogs. They're going to drink beer. They're going to spend money. They're going to buy shirts, all that stuff. That's a GDP decline of 33%. That's unprecedented. That's depression-like levels. So when you think about restaurants, all these places, plane flights, you name it, all it takes is a 4% decline in GDP to really cause big problems for this country. And what we're looking at is multiples. And yes, there's going to be improvement. Yes, there's going to be recovery. But we need to start thinking about how fast or slow is the recovery and to what percentage of the old GDP do we get back to?
The point is not to be stupid, people. I mean, let's just reopen the economy. Let's all, and even according to Dr. J, let's be sensible about how we do it. And it's a shame that handshakes and friendly hugs and those type of things are now a thing of the past. But we can get back to having a society that works, and we can deal with this until we get a vaccine. And then once we do get a vaccine, if ever, and that's the important thing here, we may never actually have a vaccine. We talked about this yesterday. It's been a decade for HIV, and we still don't have a vaccine for it, right? So there may never actually be a vaccine. We may have some therapeutics down the road. We may wind up with a vaccine. But, if you're betting on every stock that says that they've got a vaccine out, about 99% of those are going to fail ultimately. So, if there's an eventual vaccine, and it could be a long time, it could be years from now before we get a vaccine. It could be, 12 to 18 months before we get a therapeutic. So from an investment standpoint and from a, getting back out in the economy standpoint, just realize that, we're going to have these measures in place for quite some time, and just be more careful about how we do things and be sensible about it. When you take money out of the 401k plan, that was money you put in pre-tax. So when you pull it out, yeah, you're getting the opportunity to do it now, but it's destroying that ability to grow those funds longer term for your retirement on a pre-tax basis. The thought process here is do whatever else you can first. Have a garage sale. Sell everything that's not nailed down. kids included. I'm teasing.
It's funny, the wealthiest people you know don't have kids.
I know, right? Try to find other avenues to, make a little bit of money, do what you can. Try not to tap. I know it's just right now it's really tough. This came up really quick. All of a sudden, everything's fine in February. Then in March, you're out of work. But, try not to make financial decisions, in a hurry that wind up penalizing you long term. I found out the blowback from, talking about the economy and things on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my son came to me yesterday and asked for some money. He came up and says, "Dad, can I get $20? I need some gas and some lunch money to go because I'm gonna hang out with my friends for a bit." And I'm like, "That's not my job." And I said, "Have you got a job yet?" And he's like, Dad, don't you know that there's 25% of the population out of work right now?" I went, "Son, do I look like the government on giving you welfare?" So we're having a big debate in the house right now. They're trying to use this whole economic debate thing that we have going on here against me for reasons not to go look for a job. I go, "Trust me, there's jobs out there that people don't want. You can get those."
Oh, that sounds like when you talk about that emergency reserve cushion with them, right? Start them young.
There may be some jobs they can get from people who don't want to come back because they're making more on welfare.
That's what I told them. So there's jobs out there. They have very high hopes. My son who's 16, I think he wants to be a nuclear physicist now. He's like, "Well, that job doesn't pay $100,000 a year. I don't want that job." I just have to. I'm trying to tailor their expectations towards. You'll probably be working fast food. That's where we all start at some point. So digging ditches, construction, working fast food. That's pretty much it. That's where you're going to start out.
Nuclear physicists, though, you get to blow stuff up.
Fair shade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.